Welcome to What About Self-Directed Education. Today's guest made a group of young people that are self-directed education advocates from all over the world. Hello, Selva.
Hi.
We are talking today a little bit about self-directed education and especially about your idea to gather self-directed education youth advocates. So let's start. How did you come in contact with self-directed education?
I was lucky to attend a democratic school for 2 years in Spain. And well, apart from that, I guess I'm a self-directed learner. I've been learning this way all my life, apart from when I was in this school. So, yeah.
How old were you then?
When I was in the school?
Yeah.
I went to this school when I was 13 to 15.
Okay, and before you did like unschooling or?
I have a long history of schools. So my first school was a public school. Then I went to a unschool for 2 years or something like that. Then I went to a Montessori school. And then I went to a regular school again. And then I went to the democratic school.
And now you're still in democratic school or unschooling again? Or?
No, I'm 18, so I'm done with school.
How did you experience the differences going from one system to another?
So when I was in public school, it was pretty much, I thought it was normal. But the thing is that I didn't feel any passion for the academic part. I just liked hanging out with friends and stuff. But really, the academic stuff I didn't like, and the classes were not cool. So my mom noticed this, that I really didn't like the academic part. So she proposed me to go to a democratic school. The first months, I was so tired of the academic part that I wouldn't do a lot of that. I would just be doing dance class or theater or pottery or stuff like that. And then slowly, my passion for academics came back. So I was learning regular things like languages or math or geography in a self-directed way.
So there was no pressure to attend classes in the democratic school, and you could choose freely what you wanted to do in your day.
Yeah, definitely. So how it works is you just are totally free. In principle, you don't have to do anything. If you want, you can just lay down all day. But that doesn't happen because there are so many interesting things to do that every person ends up doing something. So you sign up for workshops or classes that you like, or propose things that you would like to do. For example, I proposed geography club or French. Yeah, so you do whatever you want. And if there is not a teacher available for what you want to do, like some people might want to learn Chinese and there's no Chinese teacher available, they help you to find a way to learn it. You can either learn it by internet, or they find books for you, or an online tutor or something like that.
So you are actually designing your own education. And yeah, that's the whole idea of self-directed education, I guess. How was the contrast of the public school? Did you actually, so your mom noticed it, but did you also notice yourself in public school that you lost like interest in learning?
Yeah, definitely. Because my mom asked me like, what do you like doing? And my answer was like guitar. And that was the only thing that I chose to do. I would go to guitar classes in the afternoons. And that's the only thing I liked. Maybe I said also English, because the English class was cool, but that was pretty poor. And then when I was in the democratic school, if you asked me what I like, I could be like 7 hours telling all the things I like.
A story I hear a lot of pupils attending democratic schools that they don't want holidays, actually. Did you have that experience too? That it's actually, oh no, it's holidays. Oh.
Yeah, like most of the people get sad when it's holidays because you know, like you're not able to keep doing your projects, and it's like a 3-month break, and it's so sad actually. Like every year at the end we really cry all together for an hour because it's very sad. Yeah.
Did you still have friends from the public school?
Yeah, and I still have them. Like I really love my friends from public school, and I really feel sorry that they all cannot go to a democratic school. Yeah.
How did they react when you told them like, oh yeah, but this is great and I have so much things to do? And
yeah, when I tell them about democratic schools, they say it's a fantasy. Like, what's that? What are you talking about? They don't know that that is a thing. And I don't think they really can imagine how it works, the amount of freedom people have. And there's always this first thought, like, if you don't have to do anything, why don't you just chill all day?
yeah, so it's kind of unreal. I guess it's, for most people, self-directed education sounds like, yeah, like that's not a real thing, but we are actually doing it. Yeah. So you enter like a complete different world in a sense.
Yeah. And part of the goal that I have with the self-directed education youth advocates group is that we share how it looks like with our peers from regular school.
And that's that's an excellent idea to get the word out, that people get to know this and hopefully can experience it for themselves. Do you think there is like a space also in public schools that they could like give young people space to experience self-directed education? Why do you think isn't that yet the case?
I think the only moment in school when people experience self-directed education is the break, like the break in the school day.
Yeah, then you have like some free time where you can actually choose what to do.
It's the only moment where you experience self-directed education, but actually it's so poor because you don't have any source or anything to do really in school breaks apart from hanging out with friends or going to the library. And you're also so saturated with everything, your brain is so full with things that you don't really get to really experience self-directed learning.
Did you notice like big culture change in how people react to one another and speak to one another?
Yeah, definitely. So in regular school or traditional school, teachers talk to students like if they were dumb or babies or something like that. And students talk to teachers like if they were, I don't know, the president or very old, so adult or something like that. And in democratic schools, we just talk to each other like regular, like of course with respect, but not like I lead over you or something like that. To like, we talk to each other in the eye level, if that's a way to say it.
So the respect is like mutual. It's like not, oh, I'm the adult, so I'm always right, and you have nothing to say here. But it's like, no, but you are also a person here with feelings and ideas, and I take them seriously.
Yeah, in regular school, students have an opinion if the teachers allow them to have an opinion. In principle, they don't. And that's horrible, because if you're raised with the idea that you don't have an opinion and or you can comment on things, like people will lead over you very easily.
One thing I find always curious is that like mainstream schooling is claiming to help you to reach your full potential and to promote democratic values and human rights. But in practice, I would say that there is not a lot. Even the fact that you have like a democratic school to emphasize that in this school is democratic, yeah, is actually already the big sign that the mainstream schooling isn't democratic at all.
Yeah, not at all. Because, yeah, it's kind of funny because they want to teach you about democratic education or stuff like that. And then you learn that in the books, but you don't experience that in real life. It works like a monarchy, or, and then, yeah.
How was it like when you unschooled? How was that in contrast?
When I unschooled, I was very little. It was 6 to 8 years old. And I traveled a lot with my mom because she's a songwriter. So she does a lot of tours and stuff. So I traveled a lot with her. And when I was home, yeah, I didn't follow any plan. I just learned because we lived in nature. So I had friends and stuff that also were unschooled. So it was just freedom. I didn't follow any program or curriculum.
So you didn't felt isolated or something like that, but you had still a lot of friends around you. And
yeah, definitely. And I think when you're so little, it's more important to develop some abilities like socializing or body abilities, and not so many academic things. And actually, they don't have to teach you to write. There's a point when you need to write, and because you want to do a project and write when you're 7 years old or something like that, and you naturally learn.
do you remember when you learned to write and read?
It was actually I was a special case because I learned to read when I was 3, before even school started, before regular school started. I don't remember. Well, I do remember. So my mom would read books to me, and I would just look at the words when she read it to me. And one day I just started to read it by myself. And yeah, that's how I learned to read. And then I went to school, and they were doing the basic stuff like writing letters and stuff. And for me, that was already something that I could do. Preschool was something that I didn't like at all. Not because of the academics, but because really teachers treated us like not warmly, like in a very cold way, and they would be so loud. I didn't really like preschool.
Okay, and that was the moment where you had like the chance to unschool then after preschool.
Yeah, and I even have an anecdote that I have to tell. So it was the Mother's Day, and we were supposed to paint t-shirts and write "I love you, Mom," and everyone was writing "I love you, Mom," and I decided to be creative, and I wrote "I," and I drew a heart, "You, Mom." So I, a heart, "You, Mom," and I thought, nice, beautiful. And then the teacher, when she saw that, she was so mad, and she was so loud at me. And I was like 5 years old. How can you do that to a 5 years old?
Yeah, that's
I still do that. She was so mad.
just because you threw it. Yeah, but you did actually the thing that you find on every t-shirt.
Yeah. And I thought my mom would like a heart better than a word. And I don't think that can be still happening teachers cutting the creativity of kids like that. I think school really shuts down creativity. And also because whenever I've been to regular school, my real learning, my self-directed learning has been shut down. So I would normally in summer or when I was in school or in my democratic school, I would always learn some things like Russian or geography, like because I just like it, or reading actually. I would read a lot. But whenever I went to regular school, it takes so much time and so much energy doing all those useless things that really your self-directed learning is shut down.
I guess what is hard to imagine is that if you have like, if you are in a democratic class, in a democratic school, there are no like classes that are segregated by age and stuff like that. And you can follow all these different interests. I imagine if you are learning Russian, how many other of your peers are learning Russian at the same time? Because I guess like most people confuse self-directed education with project-based learning, where you still have like the class is choosing a project and then everybody has to do it. And I guess like in self-directed education, that's not the case, is it?
No, it happens very naturally. So if you like something that a lot of people don't like, they just definitely will not learn it with you. For example, I was the only one learning Russian when I was in the school. But then other things that that everyone liked, like theater class or dance, they were always full with people.
And I guess like there was also a lot of time to just play and fool around, I guess.
Yeah, playing. A lot of people think that playing is losing time, but I think playing is the best way to learn because you really combine all the areas and subjects in life and put them together and use it with passion. Yeah, I think playing is a good way to learn.
One other big thing in democratic school is there is no age segregation, I guess.
Right. So, well, there is a little bit. In my school, they separated kindergarten and the older people. And it's actually very, very interesting because the kids in kindergarten would decide when they're ready to go to the next level, which is people from usually 6 to 18 or something like that. And yeah, so in the older group, they are mixed all the time. If you go to a class, you can be, for example, I was in math and I was with older kids, but also with younger kids that are doing the same level of math as me. Yeah, they are just mixed. Depends on your level, not on your age.
Are the older kids often helping the younger ones?
Of course, I think mixing ages it's so rich. It makes such a rich environment because, of course, younger kids learn a lot more than if they're just with kids of the same age. And older kids are kind of, I don't know if they learn more. Well, I definitely do. Because when I was with younger kids, they also know a lot of things and their way of communicating is so different that, yeah, it's definitely good. And also when you walk on the street, you're mixed with everyone, right? So you need to be able to communicate with everyone and not people that are just the same age as you. And actually, age doesn't mean anything, doesn't determine how good in a subject you should be. It doesn't make sense because if you start learning English when you're 13, it's not the same as if you started when you're 5. So why would we separate classes by ages? It Okay, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and it doesn't reflect like real life, where, as you said, we are not segregated by age usually, and yeah, we have to get along with everybody. And I guess like that the younger ones are also taken seriously, and they have the same decision when you make the rules and everything. It doesn't matter. Or are the kindergarteners then also left out, or can they participate there?
The people of the kindergarten, they can attend the assembly, but and they can talk, but they don't usually do that because they are so little. Most of them don't even know what's going on if they are like 3 years old or 4 years old. Some of them do, and I think that's the greatest learning experience for a kid. Just listening to older people talk about rules and stuff like that, that they experience, like stuff that impacts them. It's so much learning for them.
How did that idea come to your head, like to become like a youth advocate?
So people in regular school don't really know how going to a self-directed learning school feels, and people in a self-directed learning school or democratic school do not really know how a regular school feels if they have not been to one. So the people in democratic schools are just happy, they live their lives, they learn and stuff. The people in traditional schools are not very happy, but they don't know the solution. They don't really know it. So for me, the contrast of changing between these schools a couple of times really made me see the problem that really provokes me, traditional school, and the solution that it's so easy to achieve. So this combination of feelings and tools makes me feel this passion that I feel. And yeah, I guess the name for that is being a self-directed education advocate. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers to your question.
Describes a feeling that I passionately share, like my own experience from school. So I was never in a democratic school, unfortunately, but I left school at 16, and then I became a music pedagogue. So I went back to teach in a school like setting. Already there, I had like a lot of questions in my when I went to university and stuff. And when I then discovered that there is a completely different way, like in the self-directed education, and there are like democratic schools and stuff like that. I discovered then like that schools like Summerhill exists, and I guess Summerhill is now over 100 years old. So that's amazing. And nobody knows about it. And it was like, but we are all suffering in this miserable place called school. And actually, there is like a complete different path where you can get rid of all the problems. And nobody is talking about it, or not a lot of people are talking about it. And it's kind of ignored in the mainstream way of thinking about education and stuff. So I really got like, no, I have to do this. I have to get this information, or help get this information out, and I can relate to that.
Yeah, I think that's why the next task to do is make this mainstream, make this movement mainstream. So a lot of people get to know what this is and support this, and hopefully governments will change laws and act like Israel, for example, that I think it's the only country that recognizes democratic education and allows them to do whatever they want.
Actually, funnily enough, that from all places, Israel is the one that has publicly funded democratic schools. I would argue that Israel is not in some political cases, not the best example of having a free society.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like that you really have a choice. So if somebody would still choose to go to mainstream schooling as it is, with all the pressure and curriculum, then yeah, if it's your free choice and you know that there is an alternative, then you could even say, but then it's self-directed, because then it's your choice to do it. That would be, I guess, okay. But if you are told that this is the only possibility and every alternative that is presented to you is kind of the same, then that's not such a good situation where you can actually make an informed decision, I guess. So it's good to inform people that there are different ways. For example, like, I'm from Luxembourg, and there is no democratic school in Luxembourg. So then the only way would be unschooling, I guess, to actually experience it. And I guess that's really dependent on the parents then.
Yeah, okay. My goal is that this type of education is available to the people that wish to participate or wish to go to these schools. And now it might be difficult because, for example, for me too, we moved, I don't know, 600 kilometers to go to this school, and not everyone can do that, or not everyone have the money to pay this school. So now it's difficult, but I think if we make it mainstream and a lot more people get to know this, and they might choose this as a future job, not working for the regular system, but working for democratic schools or founding democratic schools. So I think everyone starts now with the youth and just letting people know that this is a thing. This way, more schools will be created and more people will be able to attend these schools.
And I guess getting the word out to your peers, like to or the next generation that is growing up, that there is an alternative and that they can actually demand also in their schools, like demand from teachers, no, but we know that there is a different way, and we want to participate and we want to have choice, and you have to change. But how did you come to notice Aero? You attended the Aero conference. When was that?
Good question. I don't know, but I definitely noticed them this year. That is, well, now it's my gap year, like after school, and I have a lot more time to do the things I want to do. So I really started to research more, because when I was in a democratic school, I didn't even know what self-directed learning was. I mean, I was being a self-directed learner, but I didn't have that tag or the word for that. And now this year, I'm really finding the words for all my feelings. And yeah, at some point I found about Aero and some other organizations.
I guess that's also like a big thing, like having the words available to you to actually describe what you are doing, also to get people to notice that there is a difference, that there is a well-defined difference even. I like the term self-directed education, especially because of that, because like Peter Gray did such a good job in defining what self-directed education is and what is facilitating self-directed education. So making the difference of, we are all self-directed learners. When we come to this earth, we are naturally self-directed learners, I guess, but nobody has a word for it. We just take it for granted. And then at some point, somebody decided like, oh yeah, but this goes only until you are 3 or 4 years old, and then you have like to have formal education in form of schools to learn anything, and all your natural learning abilities, I don't know where they go, but yeah, that's quite a big assumption. And then, yeah, the self-directed education, like writing it with capital letters, actually describes when you actually create an environment that facilitates the natural learning ability we have as humans. So it is not actually a pedagogical concept. Like Montessori is a defined pedagogical concept that really describes how learning should take place. But self-directed education can be anything as long as you are in charge of your education and you have an environment that is facilitating that kind of learning, I guess.
Yeah, and as you said in the beginning, we need words. And if we don't have the words to describe, we cannot express ourselves, right? And these words are not out there. If you talk to someone about self-directed education or Sudbury schools, they're like, what? Most of the people don't know this.
And I guess like even words that are known, like democratic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess democracy means something completely different in a democratic school than what we experience in society and governments and elections and stuff. Like I think like for most people, democracy means elections. But that's not the case, is it? It's much more than that.
Definitely. I think a democratic school is way more democratic than the government.
But I guess like at least for me personally, I find that really curious and also super important. If I imagine like if everybody would have the chance to experience like this kind of democracy, this really like very active democracy where you actively shape your environment and your community, I guess like that as a society, we would live completely different together.
Yeah, definitely. That would have a big impact on society. But we live in a democratic system. And our schools are not democracies. We are taught to respond to other people, and it works more like an authoritarian system. And yeah, it does not make sense. If we live in a democratic country, why would we go to authoritarian schools?
Yeah, that's a big point I always try to make. I actually got even like the response from one teacher, yeah, you are right. Schools are not democratic, but that's good. That's a good thing. And I was like completely like, what? How is that a good thing? That's the disagreement you're gonna have in discussing that. That actually there are people that think that that is a good thing, and people cannot be trusted to actually make decisions about their lives. I would actually argue that also in society, not only in school and in your education, but young people should have the right to participate actively in the way we govern ourselves. We are governed. I would guess like that's also very interesting. Like I would say, and correct me if I get this wrong, that in a democratic school, you are not so much governed, but you are governing.
Yeah, definitely. We have this weekly meeting where we discuss the rules or if we want to change the rules. So if a person wants to propose a new rule, which is like a law, but only for the school, you can definitely do it and it will be voted and passed or not. If there's already a rule and you want to modify it, you also can do that and it will be voted. It works like if it was a government.
Are there like exceptions?
Like things that we cannot modify are as students.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only things that we cannot modify is things like going out of school, because we are minors and we are under the responsibility of the people in the school. So we cannot say like, we can go out of the school all the time.
Okay, but I guess that's a rule that is imposed on the school by the government, I guess.
Yeah, or the parents, or you cannot just let a minor go wherever they want without supervision, right?
If there would be the case that the minor would like to go out, would there be a possibility to get somebody to supervise you?
Yeah, of course. So in this case, the thing is that you as a minor cannot decide this by yourself. So your parents should like agree with you, and the teachers or the people in the school also should agree with you that you are responsible enough to do this.
I guess what a lot of people are also not realizing is that if you are living in a family, you have kind of a system like that too.
I think there are families that work like democracies and some that just work like monarchies. I think a lot of people think that in democratic school there are no rules, but actually there are more rules in democratic school than in traditional schools. But the thing that is that these rules are respected because they are created by the students or voted by the students. And if there's a rule that they don't like, they can just eliminate it.
Yeah, I guess that makes a big difference if a rule is agreed upon because it benefits the whole community and not only one person. Or
and even if you don't like the rule, you're most likely to follow the rule because you're part of the people that make the rules. It's not like you're following the rules that someone made, like an adult. You're part of the rule making, so you respect rules. If you want other people to respect your rules, you probably will respect their rules, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And that's I think it's an important thing to experience. You are looking for other youth that know about self-directed education to join you. How can they contact you, and what can they expect?
The specific youth that I'm looking for is youth that have experienced self-directed learning and that want to spread it. Not only that they have experience, because there are already groups for that. I want to connect with youth that know self-directed learning and that are passionate to share it with other people and that are willing to do projects for this.
Do you have anything else to add? Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. Maybe. So it's interesting that in democratic schools, you can choose your teachers, because it's a very common thing that in traditional schools, we have teachers and we don't like them, or some of them, because you just like your energies don't match. And that happens a lot. Yeah, you can choose your teacher. And if you don't like them, you can just drop out of the class and look for another way to keep learning that subject. I think that's very important.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing that, yeah, you can decide with whom you want to spend your time. Great talking to you. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you great success, and hopefully we will talk again about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, definitely something cool will come out of this group. And I'm really happy that we talked.
Streife durch die Lüfte, die Vögel geben mir Geleit. Die Welt ist voller Düfte, ich war selten so bereit. Ich breite meine Arme aus und stürze mich ins Tal. Millionenfache Glücksgefühle strömen auf mich ein. mach, was mir gefällt.